Welcome everyone to ninth grade science, which is called Earth with Physical Science. I just wanted to take some time and talk to you guys about the year. We really don't have a lot of time during open house, so I wanted to give a bunch of information to you guys beforehand so that we can use open house to clarify things, ask any questions. So here we go. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Mr. Chrisman. If it's a little easier for you to just call me Mr. C, I'm perfectly okay with that. I grew up in Wisconsin, just south of Green Bay, so I absolutely love the Green Bay Packers. I've been married to my wife for 4 years, and I kind of started out with a lot of geology and geophysics, so I really like the earth science part of this course. I finished up my master's in education a couple of years ago, and my summer was mostly composed with this little guy. This is my son Brooks. He just turned 1 this summer, and as you can see, I absolutely love Batman and superheroes, and hopefully Brooks will follow in my footsteps. Good ways to contact me. Probably the best way number one would be to email me. And it seems as though the joseph.chrisman@apps.district196.org is a little bit better than without using the apps. If you go to the school webpage, I don't think this part will be there, but that's a good way to email me. Otherwise, you can call. I probably won't be able to answer during school time, but if you call before or after, I should be able to get in contact with you. I like to stay in contact with students via Twitter every once in a while, so my Twitter handle is @ChrismanSCI. I'll give out little weekly reminders about quizzes and tests, what's going to be on those. And then there's just some awesome stuff on there about science in the news that impact our daily lives. If we kind of take a look at ninth grade science and what we're going to be learning, it's Earth with physical science, and the key word there is with. We start out the year talking about systems and cycles. A lot of review, but some new stuff there. But I think the highlight of the first trimester is right here. It's the Vermillion River study. We're going to go on a field trip. I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. But then we'll get into chemistry to wrap up the first trimester. I mean, if you just take a look at it, a lot of this stuff really isn't earth science. We have, chemistry. There's some physics in there, astronomy. So a lot of different things, engineering. It's going to be a very fun year. Lots of different things. We're never kind of stuck in one spot for too long, which is always good. Now, back to that river field trip. Parents, please put September 29th into your calendar, whether it's on your phone or on paper or whatever, because that is the date that your student will be going on a field trip. And it's about 3 hours out of the day. So my 7th hour class will be going periods 5, 6, and 7th hour, and then we'll be back in time to get on the bus or get picked up right when school ends. So a couple of things to keep in mind. Like I said, it's 3 periods out of the day. School authorized absence, so they won't be penalized for missing any of their classes. However, it's important that they realize they will need to talk to their other teachers about missing work. All of the teachers will know about the field trips ahead of time, so they will be expecting students to get work ahead of time. We're going to be collecting a lot of different data at the river, and what's really nice is that the river, or the data that we collect at the river, is actually used by a program that monitors the health of the Vermillion River. So we're not just collecting data to collect data, we're collecting data to monitor the health of this river and see what we need to do, if anything, to make it more healthy. There will be a permission slip going out to you guys here relatively shortly, because we're leaving for that trip pretty soon. One thing that I do want to point out that's really important is I really like it when parents are able to come to the field trip. I'm going to have a sign-up sheet at open house. So if you want to sign up, go for it. If you are excited about it right now and you want to email me and say, hey, I want to come, let me know. I would really appreciate that. It helps. It's a fun experience. You get to kind of see what we're up to. Moving on to some of the kind of nuts and bolts of Earth Science this year. Every single Earth Science teacher uses their Moodle page very regularly. It's a great resource for students to use. I've got a calendar on there that has all of the homework, tells students when it's due. I have online resources to help with homework. Sometimes I'll put review quizzes up there so that, before a final exam or something, they can practice. But it's really up to the student to use it. I mean, I have everything there that they need, notes, but they're going to be in charge of actually taking the initiative to log in and use the Moodle page. The more they use it, typically the better they will do in class. Now, students, I'll show them how to log into Moodle, all that kind of stuff, but parents can actually log in to Moodle on their own, log in as a guest, or I guess my advice would be to have your student sit down, log in with you under their username, and kind of show you what's going on for that week in science or any of their other classes. If for some reason you guys lose internet or don't have internet access, please let me know as soon as possible. That way I can find different avenues for you guys so that you can still use the Moodle page. And we provide, all our science teachers provide guided notes, and those notes are always on Moodle. So if your student is absent the day that we're taking notes, they need to go to Moodle, get those notes, fill them out so that when they come to school the next day they're not behind. One thing that we've been using more and more over the past couple of years, ever since Google created it, is Google Classroom. The main purpose we're going to use this for is to allow students to turn different homework assignments in digitally, whether it's a regular homework assignment, a lab report, presentation, whatever. And as we go throughout the year, we're going to be using Google Classroom more and more. So it's something we'll start out, once or twice, so students can get used to it. But as the year continues, we will be using Google Classroom quite a bit. Once in a while, I might post some sort of resource, but I usually use Moodle for that. Now, there's always questions about what if I don't have the internet. I always have hard copies of anything I give students. So if they lose it, or if they need it for the internet, or whatever the case might be, I will always have hard copies of it. The textbook is online, and a lot of students prefer the online version of the textbook because they don't have to lug the textbook around. However, sometimes the internet goes out, or it's acting funky, or your computer crashes. It's always nice to have a hard copy of the textbook, and we'll be handing those out the first week of school. Online assignments usually allow more than one day to work on those. It's not like I assign a homework assignment on Monday that is online and it's due on Tuesday, just because I know there's problems with internet access. Our school is wonderful. It has a lot of computer labs, and those computer labs are accessible to students before and after school in the IMC. But again, if you have any problems with internet, please be proactive and let me know ahead of time so that I can do something about it, or I can speed the process along. I really, really don't want students to make the internet the dog ate my homework excuse. So the more proactive we all can be, the better it will be. Science this year is kind of divided up into all of those different topics that you saw earlier. And we take each of those topics and divide it into different learning targets. And learning targets are the specific things based on state standards that students absolutely must know. And we create evidence that students understand those learning targets in our portfolio or our binder. So one of the first homework assignments is to have a 3-ring binder at school. I think it's Thursday of that first week. So like I said, that binder holds all of our notes, all of our homeworks, quizzes, labs, projects, anything that relates to learning targets. And the reason why the portfolio is so important is because that is their resource to study for the big unit tests and the final exams. We really work on organizational skills, reviewing skills, studying skills, and the binder is absolutely critical for success in 9th grade science. As we go out throughout each unit, I will check binders, I will check certain assignments, and they will get stamped. And depending on how many stamps you have, you get a different number of points. So the portfolio will earn very, very easy points for students that will go towards their final grade. Along with that, we have pretty weekly quizzes, and those weekly quizzes are always out of 10 points, and we as a department have chosen a score of 70% or higher to mark students have mastered or completely understand the learning targets. If a student scores 7 or higher, like I said, they've mastered that section. If a student has scored 6 or less, they have not mastered those learning targets. So I will give them a review sheet, which will go through kind of their sticky points. That review sheet must be completed in order to retake a quiz. And that retake quiz will happen either before or after school. I will meet with the student, go through the review sheet, and then they will take the quiz. And whatever score they get on the quiz the second time is a score that will go in the grade book. So if a student got a 4 out of 10 the first time they take the quiz, they go through the review sheet and the retake, and the second time they score a 9 out of 10, the 9 out of 10 goes into the grade book. One thing that's really helpful, because we do have many different labs and all of those labs require different types of equipment, is a $10 donation. And I really want to stress that this is a donation. It is not a lab fee that's required. Any amount that you would like to donate is very helpful in purchasing glassware or equipment for our engineering unit, or paying for buses for the field trip or anything like that. So if you want to donate $10, more or less than $10, that is going to be due by Friday, September 18th, and that can be done using FeePay. In order to succeed in 9th grade science, students have to understand that it's different than middle school. Everything counts now, and you have to put in a lot of work. Studying the night before a test or the hour before a test is only going to lead to problems. Students should expect on a weekly basis at least 20 minutes of homework for science per night. Some weeks it might be more, some weeks it might be less. It just kind of depends on what we're doing. But, you know, taking time out of your schedule to plan in at least 20 minutes, no matter what, is going to be a very good skill to have. Another good skill to have is having the ability to say, I don't understand this, I need help, I know I can go to Mr. Chrisman before or after school to get help, and then taking the steps necessary to do that. Students struggle the most when they feel like they cannot ask for help, or they don't want to ask for help because they think they should know it. So it's really important that students come see me, ask for help, come to review sessions before big unit tests. Those are always great ways to get your questions answered, find study buddies, but whatever the case might be, always come to the review sessions. They are very helpful. Since we have so many different types of science we're going to be talking about, you might like one type of science a lot and do very well, and then in the very next unit you run into something that you don't like or is very frustrating, very difficult for you. It might challenge you. And that's just kind of the way that the year is going to go. You're going to have ups and downs, and that's perfectly okay. As a Earth Science team, we're going to be working on reading comprehension skills, writing skills. Those are really important for ACT tests coming up in a couple of years. Working in any type of job, you need to be able to read, comprehend what you read, be able to write, express what you're thinking. We're going to work on questioning and inquiry for our labs and our projects. Lots and lots of data interpretation, being able to collect data and then figure out what that actually means, understand the data, and then we always like to have as much collaboration as possible. One thing to keep in mind is if you start to struggle, or if you see your students start to struggle, every single Wednesday after school in room N20, we're going to have one of the Earth Science teachers there just kind of helping out, whatever it might be, if it's a homework assignment or I don't get this cycle or whatever it is. We'll have somebody there to help, just kind of drop in for as long as you need and then hightail it out of there when you're done. Last thing I need to just say is reminders for parents and students. That first week of class or first week of school, there's a few things I need to have done by Friday. I need a syllabus signed by your parents and yourself, a lab safety procedure contract signed by Friday as well. And then for those of you that choose to get a textbook, which I highly recommend for everyone, I need that textbook covered by Friday as well. Now, that's just a lot of information. Watch this as many times as you need, come up with as many questions as you want to, bring them to open house. I really look forward to meeting all of you and very much look forward to the start of the school year. Thanks. Have a great day.